He's cruising the highway right now from the Regina Pats, Al Millar. Al, thanks for taking some time today. I know you guys are busy postseason here.
Hey, all good, gents. Great to connect.
Is there a Saskatchewan town, Al, that's got a weird name that you would have mispronounced when you first ventured your way west?
Well, I'm not sure you can have any weirder name than Moose Jaw.
Shots fired. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, and I lived there for 10 years. So, I really mean it as a shot, but it's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah, I know. It's when you travel and especially people in the hockey circle or wherever, they're like, Moose Jaw. Yeah, I get it. Seen the movie.
Hey, slap shot, classic.
Exactly. Season wraps up. Obviously no postseason for the Pats this year. We're in a rebuild. We've talked to you before, well documented on what you're doing, building. You got tons of capital, tons of youth. If I was going to ask you, what were the bright spots this year for you, Al? What would you tell the listeners out there?
Well, I think at the end of the day, a few things. One, I think we're in a much better place today in terms of our build and moving forward than we were a year ago, and I think even in a better place than we were December 1. I think that on the ice, as tough as it was and as young as we were, and there was the odd long night. I think there was certain parts of the season there were lots of positives. A couple of 1-0 games against a real good Medicine Hat team, going to overtime in Lethbridge, shorthanded. And then I look at our group, and I think we were a faster team once we got through the deadline. I thought we showed that we had more talent and more skill. Just a lot of nights we were, not, experienced, not strong enough. Our best players were 17, 18. Other teams' best players were 19 and 20. So, I think we got a lot of young guys, valuable experience in terms of their development and where they're going to be a year from now. We got some of our 15 and 16-year-olds into town be around our team and play some games. So I think that was important. And then, where we are with our draft capital, I've, never been in a position where had this many assets to play with, I guess, in terms of drafting and using them in trade. So I just feel comfortable, and I know our group feels confident that, it's been a tough couple of years. We've talked about the necessity to kind of tear it down and build it the right way. But I think we feel good, and I think there's reason for optimism and excitement for this offseason, what we can accomplish and what the team can look like over the next 2 to 3 years.
Hey, Al, it's Maz here. You mentioned some of the younger players, and when you guys started to trade away the vets, you did it early before anybody else. Who were a couple of people that really probably had a chance to shine once some of the veterans were gone? A couple of names from guys on the roster that you knew all along that we got a chance to see really spread their wings and turn into a player you hope that it's going to continue on down the road.
Yeah, I think I would start with a couple of the 16-year-olds up front, Klassen and Lansard. Even Cameron Kuzma, who I think is going to develop into a pretty solid power forward for us. And that was part of, we went along with the moves that we made and added those young players, but we had to get to a point, before the deadline was over, that we did the roster management part to make sure that the kids were going to play. And, we just had some veteran guys that are good players, and they moved on to have a chance to be on competitive teams like Wilson and Chichkin and Chance and that. But we needed to open up that time for those kids to play and get those opportunities. So, Klassen for me is going to be a real good two-way player. I like his 200-foot game. Lansard, I think, is going to score 35, 40 goals at 18, 19 years old. So I think it was important for them to get their feet under them and where they're going to be over the next couple of years. I really like Dayton Deschamps on the back end. I think he's not going to be a lot of fun to play against. And, moving Chichkit out was, part of making sure that Deschamps was in the lineup every night. And then some of the new guys, Penticton came in, had a real good year for a young guy. Peranich and Hamilton on the back end. Hamilton, unfortunately, some injuries along the way. But those would be, the key guys, and I think it was real valuable that we were able to get them the playing time and the opportunity and the special teams time and all those things for their development, make sure they're ready to take those steps that we're going to need them to take next year.
Joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline, General Manager of the Regina Pats, Al Millar. Al, how you've been in hockey a long time. You've done a lot of different roles. Team Canada. We've talked about your days out east as west. How much are you learning this year and going through here with now this NCAA thing? And I'm sure there's American kids now that are really strongly looking at the Western Hockey League. How much has it changed for you, a guy that's seen so much?
Well, I think, we've kind of moved forward, in terms of that, there's newer markets that, now these young players and their families want to talk more about playing in the WHL at 16 and 17 years old. Like I think about Minnesota. Minnesota traditionally, high school hockey, USHL, Gophers, all those things. But now there's a lot more interest, and I think we've expanded our network in the U.S. in terms of scouting. We've been aggressive in terms of adding young American players to our 50-man list. We've had a number of conversations with agents and families, and Zoom and team calls with families in terms of recruiting players that we've added, players that we've listed. Getting ready for a U.S. prospects draft is much different now than it was a year ago with the change, and the value of those picks has vaulted to another level. Now that there's the NCAA rule change. So I still think we've got lots to learn. I think in terms of the focus on the younger players in the draft and adding them to come in at 16 and 17, that's just about work. That's about knowing the markets. That's about getting out there and recruiting and drafting and listing players. I think the unknown is what's it going to look like with 19 and 20-year-olds. Players, potentially leaving, how that all plays out. That's a little bit of the unknown. You've seen some things in terms of some 19 and 20-year-olds that are moving on next year to the NCAA. That's something that we'll all need to keep a handle on and work through. But for us, we've just kind of looked at the marketplace and said, hey, we've got new opportunities to add good players. Let's get to work.
Nice.
All right. On social media, when we put out that we're going to have you on the show this afternoon, a lot of people in the comments want to know, and we're just as curious, and we've stated this on this show before, the WHL Bantam Draft, Maddox Schultz and the Regina Pats. Not that you're going to tip your hand to what you're doing, but what's happening on that front?
Well, it's all contingent. It's all contingent on a lottery ball, right? That's where it's at. They've moved the draft lottery to April 10th. It was going to be this Wednesday, but with the expansion announcement today, they pushed it to April 10th. We'll go into the lottery with the second most balls. We can move up to 1. We could move back to 4. That's where it's at. So the top end of the draft is very good. Maddox Schultz is, an elite player. Let's see how the lottery goes, and if we win the lottery, I think it's going to be a real exciting time for the hockey club. Yeah,
no, for sure. I think the last time we talked to you, you just you're fresh off a trip from Vegas, so I don't know how your luck has been lately. But yeah, that's going to be really interesting. And one of the questions I had was April 10th. That's what I heard, that they're removing it. So that makes sense. I want to ask you about Penticton coming in, which is official as of today. Exciting. The league's growing. It sounds like we're going to be at 2014 with Chilliwack in a couple of years. How is the expansion draft going to work, Al? I think there's probably no one better to ask than you, because I'm very curious on that.
Yeah, as part of expansion, there's a set of expansion regulations, and Penticton is getting to work here in terms of being able to list players that are essentially free agents. They'll go through a process to get to know the team's 50-man lists. The teams have different options in terms of their age groups and how many players they can protect. We'll submit a protected list. I believe it'll be the week of the draft that we'll submit a protected list of players, and then Penticton has the ability to select one player from each WHL team. So they will add 22 players via the expansion draft. So we've done some mock expansion drafts as a staff. We probably still have some decisions to make on the last 2 or 3 players that we will protect. Ultimately, not sure what direction Penticton's going to look at. Are they going to look at our college list? Are they going to look at younger players? Are they going to look at, adding a veteran player? Look at older players? There is the ability to talk to Penticton in advance to do a deal, cut a deal to protect a player that you don't want to lose and give them something else. So that's a process we'll be in the middle of, and we'll get prepared for early in May.
Have you already done all of your exit meetings with the coaching staff for this year?
What we did is we got through the game Saturday night. I met with the team 9 a.m. yesterday morning. Then we did exit meetings with our players. Got those all done yesterday. What I told the coaches was, hey guys, it's been a long year. We've got 5 months essentially until training camp starts. There's a lot of things on our plate here in terms of getting ready for the draft, and like we talked about, we've been doing some recruiting, looking to sign some players, all those things. I just told Brad and his crew there, hey, I said, step away from the game for a week or 2 here, enjoy some time with friends and family. We don't have to get into a full debrief and talk about everything right now. We'll do that at an appropriate time. I think this is an important time for the coaches to step away and exhale. And it's not been an easy year on the coaches, a young team, and the ups and downs. So that's the plan there. We got through exit meetings. I thought it was great dialogue, productive day yesterday. Good feedback from the players, some honest evaluations on what they need to work on, and I think we'll all be better for it when we hit the ice, late next August.
Right on. As always, Al, I appreciate it. Every time I get to talk to you, I learned at least 2 things. So travel safe, and then probably regroup here after April 10th or close to the draft. Yeah,
I think around the draft lottery, and then lots to talk about then, and probably early in May too, as we're ramping up, and 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. So thanks, gents, and I look forward to connecting again.
Right on. Travel safe. That is.
Thank you. Take care.
General Manager of the Regina Pats, Al Millar. All you got to do is look at his resume. That guy has done a lot in the game of hockey. The boys are telling us we got a break, Matt.